Listen up, Friar Faithful. 97.3 The Fan's Padres Roundtable is on the air.
Unbelievable!
It's time to discuss everything going on with the Padres. The 97.3 The Fan crew is here for the most in-depth discussion on the Friars in our weekly Padres Roundtable, delivered by San Diego Roundtable Pizza. And now, here's your host, Ben Higgins.
Oh, did you miss us last week? We are back after a Thursday game day last Thursday. The Roundtable returns. It is brought to you by San Diego Roundtable Pizza. It really is pizza royalty. 1 hour of commercial-free Padres talk with our 97.3 The Fan crew. A little bit of a change in the lineup today. We'd like to welcome Sam Levitt into the Roundtable, our Padres pre- and post-game show host.
Thank you. Great to be here, everybody.
Sammy, good to have you here. While Braden and
honor.
Paulie
Are you not
both...
normally here?
No, he's not normally on the Roundtable. Thanks for paying attention, Tony. We do have Tony Gwynn Jr., who is not on the road, so he gets to join us today.
Is he normally
Yeah,
here?
you're the one. You're the one that we get to say, is he normally here, Tony Gwynn Jr.? But he is here today. He's in the middle. Chris Ella next to me. We got Matt Scraby, and of course, my co-host Stephen Woods. And Padres coming off taking 2 of 3 to the Miami Marlins, but the tough loss yesterday. We don't have to get specifically into that game. I do want to ask, Padres have now won 2 series in a row against the Atlanta Braves and the Miami Marlins, coming off a stretch in which they had lost 6 in a row and 10 of 14. Do we feel, yesterday's loss notwithstanding, that the Padres have broken out of the funk that they were in for a time being, or are they still, in your opinion, on a bit of shaky ground on their recent play? Matt, why don't we start with you on the end over there?
I think they're breaking out. They've broken out of it, because if you win a series against the Braves in Atlanta, that's a pretty good series. If you win a series against the Marlins at home, that's a pretty good series. Yesterday was standing. It was terrible to see what happened yesterday, but I think they've broken out of it.
I really like to see the offense yesterday come together with a 5-run inning, passing the baton. Everyone kind of coming together. They're not as hot as they were early in the season, Chris, but it definitely seemed more reminiscent the last couple of days of the kind of baseball we saw earlier in the year.
They're so bad last week they took us off the air. So, I'm honestly, I'm not as convinced as the 2 series might suggest. I think there's a little shaky ground right now. The bullpen. Honestly, not just the last month or 3 weeks, the last 6 weeks, the bullpen's ERA is 4.28. This after opening at 1 point something ridiculous. The bullpen hasn't been great. We've been hanging on to how great they started the season. The starting pitching's hurting. When is Darvish going to get back? And hopefully King only misses the minimum time. It seems like every time somebody on this team gets injured, it's the maximum time. Offensively, the runners in scoring position has been really poor until yesterday, strangely, when they went 4 for 5 and still lost the game. Mm-hmm. So I'm not convinced of everything yet, and left field is still an issue, although Gavin Sheets is going to improve the hitting numbers while he's out there.
Woods, it's hard to unring the bell when you see a stretch of shaky play, stretch of lack of offense. In our minds, it's hard to unring that bell and go, no, that's not the real team. The real team's the one we saw earlier in the season. Where do you stand now after 2 straight series wins?
I think, what are they, 9 games over 500? 8 games over 500. That's kind of better than I thought they would be. I've taken a more, I think this year in the first third of the season, just a little bit more laid back approach. I do believe in this team. I do believe in their potential. We have seen when it does fire on all cylinders, and I sure like that version of the San Diego Padres. And feast or famine type situation. When the famine happens, everyone looks really, really hungry. And when the feast happens, it's great. And they did feast a little bit yesterday. Bullpen let them down. It's going to happen. Long season. It's a particularly brutal stretch coming up. So. I'm confident every day when I put the TV on. I'm confident that I'm going to be entertained by the guys at the top of the order, some of the most exciting players in baseball, guys I believe in, guys I don't really worry about. I don't worry too much. I'm not too worried right now at 8 games over 500.
Tony, I know baseball doesn't always work in sportscaster cliches. There's no corner necessarily to turn, a gear to shift into. But as you're watching the team every day, do you feel like that they've gotten past some of the struggles that were plaguing them for a couple of weeks there?
Yeah, I do. I think I don't think they were as good of a team as they were when they started. And I certainly don't think they're as bad of a team as they were in that 6-game stretch there. I just think this team is good, and they had a rough stretch. I think those 6-week bullpen numbers are extremely deceiving because it was through the entire month of April that bullpen was best in the world, and then they had a stretch of a week that has would skew those 6-week numbers that Chris was bringing up. But the only concern I have is health. It can, what does Michael King look like after the IL in terms of, is he going to be on there for the full? He's going to be on there for 10 at least, right? Because it was retroactive to his last start, so it's not the full 15 from the day. But how fast can he come back? When is you? I think you is kind of. He's on he's going to make the decision in terms of when he's ready. But outside of the health issue, I don't worry about this team, especially this early. They've played well.
All right, Sammy, now your feet are wet. You feeling comfortable? You ready to chime in
Yes.
on our first topic here? Go ahead.
I'm with Tony in both the bullpen sense and also the bigger picture sense with the injuries. The bullpen was really good during this little 3-game win streak. Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, it was 12+ scoreless innings. And I'm with you. The really poor stretch for a while, I think, inflated those numbers over a long period there. And then yesterday was obviously, like we talked about on your program, Ben and Woods, was very different with the state of the bullpen yesterday. I'm with Tony. I think the bigger picture concern is the health. And I said it on your show, the fact right now that you have, and no disrespect to those guys, but guys that you don't really know what you're getting start in, start out, even though Randy's been really good. Randy Vasquez, Stephen Kolek, Kyle Hart. The plan at the beginning of the season was not to have all those 3 guys making a start every 5th day, and we'll see what happens with the Hart spot. But having guys like King and Darvish out, and we'll see what the deal is with King and how long he's going to be out, that's potentially, especially when you have a rougher stretch of the schedule coming up, both in games and competition, that's potentially a pretty big issue. So that's a huge question right now, Darvish and King, and when those guys come back. But I'm not super concerned about the bullpen. I think the offense is starting to come out of it. I'm not super concerned about them, but the starting pitching all of a sudden, I think, is a pretty real concern.
I remind everyone that the same thing happened last year.
Yeah.
Their rotation lost 2 of the main guys out of the rotation. They plugged in Vasquez. They plugged in Waldron last year.
Yeah.
And they weren't asked to take a start every 5th day. They were asked to take a start in that stretch of time and keep their team. And the same thing is going to be asked. Now, I think the bigger question is where those starts come from this year.
Right.
Can they do the same thing that they were able to do with the position players and basically stay afloat?
We are underway. It is our 97.3 The Fan Padres Roundtable. It is brought to you commercial-free by San Diego Roundtable Pizza. It really is pizza royalty. And since we've already talked a little bit about the bullpen, I think it's a conversation that could probably take up the rest of this hour, maybe the rest of the day. Bullpen management. Every team has their own, theories and strategies. They're all kind of similar on the big league level, but they're all a little bit different as well. And I kind of lit up, Mike Schild and AJ Preller about how yesterday's game went down in terms of being really aggressive by pulling Kyle Hart, but then being really conservative by not pulling Wandy Peralta. But I think overall, the Padres do an actually excellent job of bullpen management. And I think some fans are going to go, what? They're terrible. They're terrible at that. And I wanted to get your guys' opinion. Let me start with Chris this time. Overall, the way the Padres managed their bullpen this season and last season, do you think they do it right in terms of how much they use their high leverage guys, the days off, just the general sense? Are they a good bullpen management team?
Yeah, I think they are. I don't agree with every move that's made. I would have brought Suarez in. I don't know what you were saying on the show. I would have brought Suarez to try to get the last out of the 8th inning, but it's also Monday morning quarterbacking. Peralta could have got him out and nobody would have mentioned it. So, look, I think by and large they make really good decisions, but that's not really the question here. The question is, how do they manage it? I think the reason they do a good job managing is because guys have defined roles and they have a pretty good idea when they're going to pitch, what situations they're going to be used in. I don't think guys in the bullpen hear their name called very often and go, what? Oh, wait, really? I think they almost expect, hey, my name's probably going to get called here. I think that's good bullpen management in general. And, ultimately the fans are going to base the bullpen management on the success of the pitchers. When you bring a guy in and he gets the job done,
Terrible.
What a great move. And when he
good.
The opposite, when he doesn't get it done, Mike Schultz an idiot. That's what it's going to come down to. But I think they do a really good job. Yes.
Woods, you're nodding over there.
They found their lanes for guys early this year. I asked Ruben about it beginning of last year. How long does it take? When you got a bunch of new faces and you got a bunch of different arms and different pitches and they found their lane early, with Estrada, Adam, Suarez. I mean, and to have that luxury is a good thing ultimately. And when one of those guys falters, it's weird. When Jason Adam uncorks a wild pitch to tie the game, and then he hits a guy in the head, and Manny boots a ball. It's weird, but they found their lanes early this year, and they stick to it once you find those. And Ruben told me, man, it takes a while sometimes. And it didn't take them a while this year. They came out gangbusters. They were fresh. Everyone's fired up, ready to go. Now you see a little bit of, as Mike Schill called it yesterday, attrition. And they have, again, way more info than we do. They're not going to give us their plan before the game. Hey, Morehone's going to be down today, and we're only going to use Adam for, to get, in the seventh. We're going to put him in a little early. They're never going to give you their plan. I think ripping on bullpen management sometimes it just feels like low-hanging fruit. Sometimes it does. That game got speedy on them yesterday. It did. It sped up on them. And you're right, though. I mean, they did have two different philosophies of aggressive and then conservative late. I didn't necessarily understand it either, but I also understand, they know more than I do as it pertains to that. I think they've done a good job doing it. Who's the best bullpen manager in baseball? Who's the model?
That's a good question.
Only LaRusso would like to think he was.
Yeah, I think he's playing golf somewhere in Scottsdale, right? Yeah. But who's the best? Is Dave Roberts? His team's in first place. He must be the best bullpen manager.
He was last year in the postseason.
In the postseason,
prior to that, he was horrible at it. Just ask the Dodger fans.
Exactly. But who's the best? Who is the team you look and go, man, that's the guy I want to be like? There isn't one. There never will be. It's the players getting the job done that makes the manager look like a genius.
Tony, I saw some criticism about bringing David Morgan in, a rookie in a situation like that. You're never going to find out about your guys unless you use them. I mean, we saw Sean Reynolds come in a couple of times last year and, get the job done. You do need to use those guys. I don't have a problem with that. Ultimately, how do you feel like the Padres manage their bullpen?
I think they are one of the best at managing their bullpen. To me, you can't really criticize the moves if you don't understand the information and you don't understand, the attrition that Mike talks about. Remember, this bullpen covered a bunch of innings on the road, including a full-on bullpen day that was out of the blue. And they lost that game. They came back. They set themselves up to be able to win that game by handling the bullpen the way they did the previous night. You fast forward to yesterday, there's a lot of attrition. They could have brought Suarez in, but he's been used a ton. And the other thing is keeping these guys healthy, because if you're chasing a win on May 28th and that cost you down the stretch because someone's hurt because you were chasing a win, all that has to be factored into it. I think Mike Schill does him and Ruben do an excellent job managing the bullpen.
He got a lot of grief for those four out saves last year at the early part of the season. A lot. He did it a lot. And we won some games, but he got a lot of grief. And then Suarez started to scuffle.
Right? And the team was in a different situation. You can't necessarily win the division or win a wild card early, but you can lose it. You can certainly lose it. And so this team put themselves in position to be able to go after it a little bit different. Maybe not have to use Suarez for 4-out saves as you're pedaling to stay 500 versus being 8 games over 500 right now. And, I think they do a terrific job.
And you mentioned the bullpen day. It was a 9-game stretch. I went back and looked at it. I think I counted 35 innings pitched by the relievers over that 9-day stretch. So absolutely, I thought, attrition and fatigue were part of what happened yesterday. Sam, we talked a little bit about the end of our show. The only thing I would have done is I probably would have left Kyle Hart in, even though he was struggling a little bit with only, 50 some odd pitches and, fresh from AAA. I would have let him try to get out of that jam and save my bullpen a little bit longer, even though, they'd getting some soft singles and getting some hits off him, a couple harder balls. That if you're going to go conservative and save your bullpen, go all in with that strategy and protect your bullpen by asking another inning or two out of a starter, even if he wasn't quite as sharp.
Yeah, I thought yesterday was the perfect storm of guys being unavailable, which is fair. It happens over the course of a long season, especially when you have the amount of bullpen usage they've had, and a little bit of a different approach. Last year, I think early in the season, Robert Suarez probably comes in the 8th inning and tries to get him a multi-inning save. If they don't want to push Suarez in that way this year, especially with a better start, totally fair. I thought, and I'll get to Kyle Hart in a second, but look, there were other moments of that game that played a factor. Manny making the error, Fernando running through a stop sign. It was a collective team effort.
Team loss.
And yes, for sure. I think there would have been an argument if you knew your bullpen was going to be very limited for a number of reasons of trying to get Kyle Hart through that 5th inning. If he gives up the home run to Lopez, then there's probably second guessing as to why you would let Hart face a right-hander as the tying run. So it's always going to go both ways. It was a tough spot yesterday for a multitude of reasons.
Suarez had been in, if I'm not mistaken, 6 of 8.
A lot of games.
7 of 9.
Yeah.
So leaning on him for a 4-out save at the back end of that would be kind of wild. And I think the other thing about Kyle Hart, I know you guys were watching the game. Everything started to leak up. Yeah. And that, you can say what you want about the cast-offs for the Marlins. Those dudes are out there trying to murder the baseball. And eventually it wouldn't have been off the end of the bat. It would have been a long ball. So even though I understand he only had 50-something pitches in that game, he was coming to the end for sure.
What does everybody think about Mike Schultz? He's fallen in love with, and I don't mind it, but what do you guys think of getting guys out in the middle of innings? He doesn't give us.
He did that last year.
Going back to last year.
He did that last year. Yeah,
he likes that.
I shouldn't say that he's fallen in love with. He's always done this.
He's done, and they're
one of the few teams though that'll get it. The guy will get 2 outs. Then he comes out. That is
the game plan going in. Like, we're going to use this guy for this many outs. And if he can get to this guy, we're going to flip to go to the other guy. I think in essence, it prevents it. It actually ends up saving guys a little bit, as opposed to going one more batter to just finish the inning. You hand it to the next guy, and you can piece it together that way through however many innings.
Yeah. Can I say one more thing about the bullpen? Somebody that immediately came into my mind yesterday that would have been really valuable in a game like that was Brian Hoeing, who should be back pretty soon here, because yesterday would have been a game with Kyle Hart on the mound, assuming Hoeing was available, where righty batter, 6-3 game. We know Hoeing could give us multiple innings after that. Quality pitcher, go get that batter and go get the next 2 innings. I think they've missed that a little bit, having a real quote-unquote long reliever, which they haven't had, and a quality one in Hoeing. And the good news is that Hoeing continues to rehab, and I would presume is going to be back pretty soon. He immediately came into my mind yesterday as somebody they could really use.
Let's be honest. He's probably relieving Kolek in the second or third and the night before in the game
you can't view it in a vacuum either.
Right?
Yes, of course.
He would have been part of that attrition.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. It's kind of, I know the situations were different, but it was kind of interesting to me to see Stephen Kolek give up 6 runs in the top of the first inning and then just throw him back out there. He figured it out. He got some more innings, but Kyle Hart faces a little bit of pressure, and they pulled him.
Again, that comes off the back of that bullpen game that was, 2 nights before?
Yeah.
And so
maybe they had no choice.
At that point, they didn't have a choice. They got a running back out there and hope that he can kind of get it back together. And to his credit, he did.
And by the way, Stephen Kolek was probably a handful of pitches away from maybe not getting
that. You're right.
You're
right.
So it could have been even worse for yesterday's
100%.
game. So, yeah.
I think ultimately for me, from the bullpen issue and beyond, it comes down to that I, as a fan, I trust the Padres decision makers, whether it's AJ, Mike Schilt, Ruben Niebla. It was a hard-earned trust. I don't know that I always, I don't know that I always trusted AJ. Certainly didn't trust Mike Schilt when he first got here. They had to earn that trust. But at this point, for me at least, I may not understand every move that they make. And maybe I won't ever. They can't explain it to me for whatever reason. But I think the guys know their stuff. I think they're looking out for their players. They're looking out for wins. I trust the decision makers of the San Diego Padres. You guys mostly agree with me?
Agreed.
As well?
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, which is a good place to be if you're a fan base, because not every fan base can really genuinely say they trust their team's decision making.
We haven't been able to do that
No,
here
time.
for a long time.
I understand where you're coming from, Ben, because I trust you, and it was a long time coming.
You're welcome. Thank you, Chris. Well, you might not trust me after I throw another roundtable draft at everybody. It's our roundtable brought to you by Roundtable Pizza. It really is pizza royalty. So we're officially exactly 1/3 of the way through the Padres season. 54 games down, 108 games remaining for your San Diego Padres. And I think about 3 weeks ago, this question wouldn't have even been worth asking. But with Fernando going into his slump lately, the draft question is, who is your first third MVP for the San Diego Padres? You can make an argument, but you can't take anyone who's already been taken. And here's our draft order. I just randomly selected. It's going to go Tony, Sam, Scraby, Woods, Chris, and I go last. So, Tony, you get to go first. Who's your first third MVP for the San Diego Padres?
Man, this is a tough one.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say it's Manny Machado.
Okay.
It came down to him or Pivetta because they've both been really good from the start. But it's amazing to me, and I think I'm guilty of it too. I think we take him for granted in terms of like the things he brings to the ballpark every day. And watching him start this season, he's 35 away from 2,000 and 2 away from 350. It kind of brings it all in perspective, and we're getting to watch, it more than anybody else he's ever played in front of. I think when Manny's going, typically the team is going too, and so I would give my third MVP to Manny.
Sammy, you can choose anyone but Manny Machado now. And I saw you a little frustrated. Yeah,
Very frustrated.
There's some good choices left, Sam.
Well, I wanted to do like a minute defending Manny's honor.
You don't have to. I do it enough.
Which I've had to do a lot lately.
Me too.
Oh, he's not clutch, Sam.
To me, it's going to be either Pivetta or Sheets. I'll take Sheets. It'll give me an opportunity to talk about Gavin Sheets. I mean, what a story he's been. And if Gavin Sheets wasn't producing at the level he's producing, that would be another spot in the Padres lineup, whether he's in left or DHing or wherever he's playing on any given day. It would be another question mark and potential issue in their lineup, and wherever he is, it just hasn't been. And nobody could have predicted when he walked into the clubhouse in Peoria on a minor league deal that he would end up being what he's been and really translating what we saw in spring training into the regular season seamlessly. So
Sounds familiar.
Yeah.
From 2024.
Yeah. So Jerks and Profar. Right. Yeah. I mean, he's almost in a different way, like this year's version of Jerks and Profar. So he's been so good. He's been such a pleasant surprise. He's already got more home runs this season than he had in both 23 and 24. He's a great clubhouse guy, says all the right things, has made adjustments, listens to the coaching staff. I don't know how you couldn't be incredibly impressed. So yeah, I'll go Gavin Sheets.
The middle word of MVP is valuable, which starts with value. And for a lot of people, value is what you get above expectations. And no one has performed more above expectations than Gavin Sheets. All right, Scraby, you got the third pick in the draft.
I kind of wish I had the last pick because I have a name in mind, but if I took him now, people are going to laugh at me. So I'm going to go
Take
with.
a risk, man.
Yeah, do it.
Take a risk.
It's not
You guys
that
have already
serious,
laughed
Scraby.
at me for this name.
I don't.
We won't
Gavin
stop laughing
Sheets
at
is
you.
probably not the MVP
No,
of the
but-
team in the first third, but it gave me an opportunity to talk about it.
That's what the draft is. It's an
All right.
opportunity
Right.
to talk a little bit.
I'll say it. Tyler Wade has been extremely
Yeah,
important to this team.
I like it.
He's
Make
been
the
extremely
case.
important to this team because Jackson Merrill was out almost a month. He filled in seamlessly. You put him anywhere on the field, he could do it. He won the game the other day on the wild pitch. If he's not on this team, I don't know where they are in regards to what they would have done with Jackson Merrill out. So
Hit over
T-Wade,
300.
baby.
Hit over 300 in that span where he had
Thank
to
you,
start.
Sam.
Oh boy.
I'm all about Tyler
He's
Wade.
got one of the top ERAs on the staff
Yeah.
as well.
I'm
I totally understand where Scraby's coming from here.
He's a dual threat.
Scraby, I love you. The GM that
Dual
takes Tyler
threat.
Wade third in the draft just got fired, unfortunately. All right, pick number 4. And Tyler
just for that,
Tyler Wade's off the board.
just for
Woods.
that,
everybody.
just for that, we're giving you your own afternoon show for the next 9 days.
You guys laughed at me because I said Tyler Wade was going to be an X factor back before the season, and he has been. To my own horn over here. Sorry.
Oh, it's very obviously Luis Campusano. No, I was joking. No, I'm gonna go with I'll go with Robert Suarez. A very calming presence at the end of games, and as we've mentioned, maybe would have liked to see him yesterday, but was not to be. But came into the season. We all remember the rough stretch last year, and boy, he was incredible the first 54 games of the season, Ben. And you feel good when he's in there. 2.35 ERA, 17 saves right now. That's pretty good first third.
We have a Shedeur Sanders situation developing here in our draft. Chris, you get to go 5th here.
He took mine.
Okay.
I was going to take Suarez.
All right.
Oh, I thought you were pointing to me.
No, yeah.
No, nobody's gonna point to you on that one.
It is funny because we keep saying the closers are a dime a dozen, anybody can do it, but evidently not. I mean, teams paid a lot of money for a lot of closers this year that are terrible.
Yeah.
And it is a great luxury for the Padres. I think it's interesting that Jackson, Merrill, and Fernando don't have a vote yet. Jackson obviously was hurt. Fernando slumped, but I'll still say Fernando.
No, sure.
There you go. I mean, he had to be taken at some point, people.
He went a month and a half carrying the club. Not carrying. Nobody carries this club. That's what I like about it. But, he's been as good as anybody. Defensively, he's, been solid. The running through the stop sign is fresh in everybody's mind right now. But what's not fresh in your mind is dashing home from third to win the game when the ball's 1 foot away from the catcher. I don't think the coach told them to go on that one either. You get a little of that, you lose a little. Fernando's the most exciting player on this team, and I think he'll be back, in a big groove here soon. So I feel confident I can go with him.
And even during his slump, I can think of 2 games that he won on his own. The walk-off home run in the game in Pittsburgh. And if he doesn't do what he did in the first month of the season, who knows where they are in that first month, and then they don't bank as many wins. So in a serious sense, I think Fernando's got
By the way, I just figured out what you
real
mean by the
case.
Shedeur Sanders situation.
Yeah.
I'm hoping somebody will say Fernando.
Well, at some
I didn't
point,
say that because you said
The
that.
guy
I
with
was like,
13 home runs,
I didn't
who
get
was
it.
clearly the best player until about 2 weeks ago, had a walk-off home run about 2 weeks ago.
That
Has
is
to be
indeed
taken
a part
by
of the
someone.
third of the season.
Yeah,
It
it
is.
has to be
It's
taken at
recency
some point.
bias,
Yeah,
right?
a little
Very
recency
much
bias.
recency.
All right, well, I'm left with the last pick. I think Sammy mentioned him but didn't take him. So I will take Nick Pivetta as the guy who you took Nick. You mentioned Nick Pivetta, but
you
you
got a
didn't take
mention
him.
or two, but he's available.
I feel like where would this pitching staff be? It'd be good, but it would be a whole different complexion if Nick Pivetta had not been added and produced the way he has over the first third of this baseball season. Tony, you're not
The MVP part, the value
over expectation.
He is definitely provided a ton of value over expectation, and he's kind of I like watching him on the mound, man. He has got an edge to him. It reminds me so much of Kevin Brown in so many different ways.
Except off the field, he's very nice.
Kevin
Brown was not.
Super nice, and
Kevin got meaner,
really polite, and all of that. Yeah, he did. Kevin didn't have that off the field part.
He carried it all the way through.
He did. He definitely did.
There's something about starting pitcher having to talk with themselves during their start that I love. It's just a kind of craziness.
I know the situation happened in San Francisco, but I think it happened. Maybe it was in Atlanta, but. They came out, they talked to him with a runner on second. He got out and he immediately turned back to second base.
He's running mouth.
It was just like, all right, I see. I love that about Nick.
And if he wasn't there, if they didn't sign him, who would be throwing some of these games for the San Diego Padres right now? I mean, he's really kind of been the glue that has held the entire rotation together for the first third of the season. It's been a good rotation for the most part, even though C struggled for a little bit. And, they've had to go to some of their fifth and sixth guys. Pivetta has kept this, I think, together, and that's an extremely valuable thing.
It's such a luxury to have 2 guys in your rotation that every 5th day you're gonna have them. Pivetta and even Cease. I know he struggled, but you're going to get innings out of those guys. And this early in the season, that's so, so important.
For all of the people that will argue against A.J. Preller's ability to put a team together, and that's a really long line. I mean, if you present a case of Gavin Sheets and Nick Pivetta as two additions in the same season, how many general managers have been able to duplicate that this year or any year?
Yeah, he's done it in back-to-back years.
Incredible, these two guys.
And I believe, what are they paying Nick Pivetta? Like $1 million this year?
Yeah.
Crazy. All right, we're about halfway home. I see a lot of complaints. It's our Roundtable Pizza Roundtable, brought to you by San Diego Roundtable Pizza. It really is pizza royalty. See a lot of complaints about a perceived lack of transparency from the Padres, especially when it comes to injuries like Michael King and Yu Darvish. Hardly unusual. Teams are all very, close to the vest when it comes to these injuries. But I want to ask you guys, how much information do you think a fan base deserves from their team? Since they're the ones who are footing the bill, after all. They're paying for the tickets, the concessions, the merch, the TV deals and packages. They want to win, obviously, but how much information? Because fans get so frustrated, Sammy. You have to deal with them on the postgame show. Why are they lying to us about you, Darvish? Why are they lying to us about Michael King? We hear this a lot. So how much info do you think the fans really deserve?
Well, I don't think the fans are entitled to all the information that's going on with players' health and the team in general, and very rarely are they being given all the information. I think in this particular case, if you want to look at Darvish, if you want to look at King, whatever injuries, Merrill's injury, I think when you hear Mike Schilt talk post-game, he definitely typically leans on the more positive side of things, like he typically does in general for everything. I think obviously when it doesn't sound like a big deal, an injury initially, and then we find out a guy is going to be out for a long time, it's never going to be a great look or feeling for the fans, because it's like, oh, that the team lied. The team didn't tell the truth, when I think, it's probably leaning more onto the positive side of injuries initially when they happen, which I think is natural and I think is fair for the Padres to do that. And I also think, and I think right now with Michael King, we're seeing it. I also think it takes time for teams to understand what exactly an injury is and the severity. And sometimes it does take some time, and we're looking for immediate answers. Like, Fernando gets hit by a pitch. How long is he going to be out? Well, sometimes it's not as simple as that. If he hasn't broken a bone, they got to see how he wakes up the next couple of days. So I think these things are often a little murky from the outset, which I think then maybe spills into the messaging, which then spills into how the fans perceive it.
I think this is a good question for our conspiracy enthusiast at the end, Matt Scraby.
Thank you very much.
Tony's starting to get a headache in the middle there. Sorry, Tony.
I go back and forth on this because I don't think we need to know everything about injury history at all. I mean, we can keep our medical histories private, but the players can't keep their medical histories private for whatever reason. But I do get a little frustrated when it's like, oh, he woke up on his shoulder wrong. He'll be back. Tony's zenning right now. But he woke up on his shoulder wrong. He'll be fine. And then the next day, oh, he's a little bit sore. He's gonna miss his next start. Oh, and then the next day, IL. Like, I know that's how it goes, and I know what Sam said is correct. You have to see what happens. You have to see whether or not they feel better the next day. But I don't think that fans need all of the information. I think that they need enough information. I think maybe Yu Darvish is one of those things where is he? Like, no one has any idea where Yu Darvish is. No one has any idea when he's coming back. And he's one of the higher paid guys on the team. So I think that when you're paid highly, I think that is where you have a little bit more of a responsibility to tell the fans.
I know about every online appointment you make at Kaiser Permanente.
That's true.
So, I mean, you're pretty transparent about your health history over there.
Think about that.
All right, Tony, before you explode in the middle, I'll let you just go ahead and say your piece on what the Padres do and don't say about their injuries.
I understand people want information, but I think they should be given as much information as they can actually understand. Scraby, case in point, he brings up the shoulder. Why is it so hard to believe that on the 15th different bed a guy has slept on this year, that he wakes up and his scap isn't feeling right? They say, all right, you know what? We'll give it a day. You'll be back tomorrow. Meanwhile, they got to go out and have a bullpen day, right? So they have the bullpen day. He comes in the next day. I still feel the same thing. Do they say, you know what? Let's wait another day, have another bullpen day? You can only get 26 guys on the roster, so he's taking up a roster spot. And I think Sam's point is really important. I know we have the best technology we've ever had. We got imaging and things at a much faster pace. That does not then mean that you understand why the said player is feeling these things, because you can see some pictures. The reality is it works both ways. Those same shots can show a clean shoulder and a guy have symptoms of pain. Flip side, it can show a crappy shoulder and a guy be able to pitch a whole season. So this isn't an exact science in terms of figuring out why a guy is feeling like this and the type of information you got to give. So does Mike Schilt look any better if he comes like, listen, guys, I don't know exactly what's happening right now. King came in and said his shoulder. I don't know. I can't tell you anything. And would you rather him do that, or would you rather him come out and say, listen, he woke up, his scap was not feeling great. We're going to give him a day and see how it goes. I don't know exactly what people are looking for. They want exact answers. And 95% of the time, there isn't an exact answer right then and there.
For the record, I believe that he slept on his shoulder wrong. I'm not saying that the Padres are making up things as to why he's injured.
But to the point that Ben was making, that is the complaint, though, that you see out there a lot, is that they are somehow lying to us or not telling us the truth.
I don't believe that.
And Chris, you have to take that in the next start. Why would they be lying? I mean, it's eventually going to come out. He's either going to be on the mound or he's not. So has there been a case or two in Major League Baseball where an athlete did something stupid, got hurt, and tried to hide it, or the club tried to hide it? Yeah, it's happened a couple of times. Jeff Kent, it does occur. Most of the time, though, the athlete did nothing wrong, just, slept on it funny, threw a pitch a funny way. And there's nothing to hide there. There's no reason to be embarrassed that you're hurt. It's a tough sport. People are going to get hurt. There's no real reason why the Padres would try to lie or hide something from the fans in the vast majority of cases.
I'd like to give you a good answer, Ben, but last night I ate some hot sauce and went down funny. My throat's a little sore. I'll be out the rest of the day. I don't know about the shoulder. I don't know why people don't believe it or do believe it. I don't really think that's material here. But I think Tony hit on something. I think Mike Schilt could do him, and I don't know that he cares, but I think he could do himself a little better service by honestly saying that. Yeah. Jackson got hurt last night. We're going to need a couple days to be able to tell you what we think. Instead of he's out today, hopefully he's back tomorrow. Because then when tomorrow comes and he goes on the injured list, it seems like to us, it's another blow. We got to take another blow as a fan base. We had to take the first blow that he's out. Now we got to take the next blow that he's on the injured list. So I think I would be a little more I don't know, honest is the word, but just say, hey, we're going to take a couple of days with Michael King. We'll let you know. That's it. And then we can't complain.
People would be mad about that too.
Yeah, maybe.
I think in this King example, I actually think they've done a good job, because essentially Mike Schultz said we are in the quote unquote discovery phase. If he woke up, feeling the scapula issue, slept on it wrong. We haven't heard from Michael King about it, and they've said, hey, later in the week we'll have some more information on you. We're trying to figure it out. I think in this King example, they've actually done kind of the perfect thing of saying, yeah, it's a little weird. It's a little unusual injury. We're trying to figure it out. We'll have more information for you later in the week.
All right, Woods, you got anything to add?
I don't care about that. That's fine. not even a little bit. I'm just of the opinion of he's out. Okay, who's up next? How do we go out and win a ball game today? That's really how I operate. I've learned over the years that all of this is out of my control. All of it.
This has been happening for the whole history of baseball. We just didn't have this kind of insight in the past.
Well, let me ask you again. Who's the best at it? Who's the best? What team should we model ourselves after? Right? Who's the marker? Who do we go to?
Injury.
We were more like the Diamondbacks.
Tony La Russa.
That's like I think they handle it in the best way they see fit, and you have to make decisions. Here's what I do know is Mike Schilt really wants to win a lot of ball games in a World Series. I know that. I know it. I'd bet my house, my kids on it, man. Really, I know he wants to win a World Series, so they're going to do what they need to do. But I don't feel deceived. I don't feel shortchanged. I don't feel any of those things. I go, oh, that sucks. Who's the next man up? How do we win against the Pirates tomorrow night?
It's kind of like the low hanging fruit that you were talking about.
Just get mad to get mad.
It's the easier thing to kind of
get mad at,
point at and be
this organization at. Whatever, man. I think they're all this way.
And ironically, the team with the most injury issues and kind of, I guess, question marks about what's going on is the team up north.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah,
no doubt.
It's our 97.3 The Fan Padres Roundtable, brought to you by San Diego Roundtable Pizza. It's Prilipi's Pizza Royalty. We're commercial free. Doesn't mean we don't need a little break from the Padres talking an entire hour. That's what the seventh inning stretch is for. So today's non-baseball question. Mission Impossible, The Final Reckoning was released this past week.
Last night.
Did you?
Oh, nice. All right. Well, maybe, Tony, you can get us started here. For our seventh inning stretch, I'm asking you, what's your favorite mega movie franchise? Like big blockbuster movie, sequels, franchise that you like the most?
Don't start with me. I need to think about
I
this.
need time too. I need time.
Woods, you got one? You're more of an indie house guy, right?
No, I'm not. Just because I don't watch the Avengers and stuff.
You're an indie guy.
I'm not really. I like mob movies.
Yes,
but they don't
so
really
there's
do
not
like
other
franchises
franchises,
and stuff.
that's
Y'all are gonna laugh. Beverly Hills Cop.
Yes.
I love
quoted on our show
Foley,
so much.
baby.
I love 1. I love 2. 3 was okay. 4, I was happy to see it come back. Beverly Hills Cop is my Mission Impossible.
That's a
Sammy, what do you think?
I'm not a huge movie guy.
Sam
I don't
doesn't watch
buy-
movies.
I don't watch a lot of movies. You guys are gonna laugh. I'll say Toy Story.
Okay.
I'm not mad at that.
Yeah.
Probably
Yeah.
one of the better
Toy
Toy
Story.
Story.
It's not bad at all.
Great movies.
All right,
and
Chris.
the fact that they came back with, I think it was Toy Story 3,
I think
and it was amazing.
I think they're coming
They're
out
good
with another
sequels.
one.
on the
Years
Toy
later
Story, yeah.
was unbelievable.
Yeah.
Toy Story.
Chris.
Boy, Jaws is out. Ooh, got really bad.
Yeah.
Godfather won 2 Best Pictures.
Yeah.
That's
It's
going
not- I
way
don't know what you
back.
call it a mega
But that's
movie
hardly
franchise.
a franchise.
3 is. I mean,
Yeah.
there's
They have
3
three,
of them.
but yeah.
Yeah, because you called Woodsy the indie heart, but that's me, honestly. I really am always looking for a movie that's different. And when I see one that's the same or a franchise, I dismiss it almost immediately. So I don't have,
No Star Wars or
I
anything
didn't
like that?
of the Fast and Furious 10. I saw none.
Yeah.
So Star Wars not
No,
my thing
not
either.
your
So I'm gonna say
Baseballs.
I'm gonna say Godfather.
All right.
because it's the
All
only
right.
thing I got.
Since you two wanted the most time to think, I'll go with my childhood love. I was obsessed with Back to the Future. All of the Back
Dang
to the
it!
Futures.
Dang it! That was mine.
Number 3 faded a tad.
Yeah.
didn't you
A little
think?
bit.
I
but
love
yeah.
3.
I
1
still
and
like
2 are
how it
good.
ended. I loved, going with the train at the end. It was a good
I
dramatic
didn't even know
closing
there are
scene.
multiple back.
Hey,
Yeah.
There's 3.
He doesn't even know that there were 3 back to this
Yeah.
rides at Universal Studios. I mean, this is
Jaws. That one did not age well at all.
it's a mega movie franchise.
It
All
is.
right, Mr. Gravy, you need more
Yeah,
time again.
I was gonna take Back to the Future, but I'm gonna go with. There's some terrible movies in this franchise, but I will sit down and watch all of them. Halloween. All of the Halloween.
yes.
Like the Rob Zombie Halloween,
Yes.
the original Halloweens, Halloween 6, The Curse of Michael Myers,
Yeah.
H2O with Busta Rhymes, like all of that stuff.
Didn't
Yeah,
they
it
go
got
back
bad.
at the end and do the original one again?
They kind of did. They
Oh, okay.
brought back Jamie Lee
Right.
Curtis to take down Michael Myers, even though he's been killed like
50
Every
Yeah,
other movie.
exactly.
Can't be killed.
All right, Tony, you love Beverly Hills.
That was
Cop.
that was
Yeah.
my
What
that
else
would have
you
been
got?
my pick, but I'll keep it comedy. How about Friday franchise?
Oh,
Yes.
there you
I love
go.
1 and 2 so much.
They're having a 4th coming out soon.
Do they?
Yeah.
Oh,
the
man.
last Friday. I'm
What
looking
was
forward to-
3?
3 was the one with Cat Williams.
Was
See,
it
I didn't like that
Christmas?
one, but I love 1 and 2, and I'll watch 4.
Yeah.
For sure. You've never seen any of them, have you? Ben?
I have. I've not.
You should. You'll get some laughs.
You've
Bro,
never
he's
seen
never
the
seen
first
Friday.
Friday?
You'll see some laughs. You get some laughs for
said
that.
I have not.
Unbelievable.
Which movie franchises hit the highest number? Friday the 13th?
Ooh, they have.
Like, didn't they get the
Well, I mean, like
13
Marvel, there's
episodes?
been like 40 movies
Yeah.
at this
Yeah.
point. If you count that, in
Okay.
Star Wars, there's been
All right.
10 or whatever.
Yeah,
but
Back to the Future was a close. That was
I was
my-
good
That's
one
a good
too,
one.
though. I like that. All right, let's get back to the baseball. Padres mentioned it earlier. They begin a stretch of 26 games in 27 days. This is a dangerous part of the season, and also for Tony's home life as well, coming up. And they're doing it now with a rotation, at least at the moment, of Cease, Pivetta, Vasquez, Kolek, and Hart. How are they going to manage getting through some tougher opponents, no off days, a bullpen that's already tired, and not knowing if they're getting Michael King, Yu Darvish, maybe Matt Waldron back during this stretch? This, I think, Tony, this is a tough portion of the schedule. We got to keep an eye on this.
It is. You got a 4 against San Francisco. You got 7 against the Dodgers. You got another 3 against the Diamondbacks, and you got the Royals scattered in there as well. Yeah, listen. These are the in my opinion, these are the months that really form your team and show you what you have. Right. We learned a lot about the Padres in June, July of last year, when they had to battle some rotation issues. Guys stepped up, and just as they were starting to peter out, they got healthy. And so I expect it to be the same way. The reason why I feel so good about this team is, having been around these guys for the last 2 years, they just have a belief about their work and what they're putting in. And as much as sometimes it may feel, because when we were winning, it never felt like we were going to lose. I think you brought this point up. And then when we were losing, it felt like that was never going to end. But those guys stay even no matter what. You would, even days I come to the stadium after some of those losses, I expect to see some slump shoulders or just some. Never. These guys are the same way every day. And so I think we find out what the team is really made of during this stretch right here.
Woods, I said during our show, Matt Waldron kind of saved the team in the middle of the season. We may be heading toward another situation where Matt Waldron could be needed to save at least a stretch of this season for the Padres as well.
Yeah, man, I listened to Sammy's interview with Luis Ariz the other night, and on the drive home, and I love that dude so much. I love his attitude, his mindset. He's positive, relentlessly positive. And I think, he kept telling Sammy, strong mind. Yeah. That's what we need to have. We need to have a strong mind. And I think that's how you get through this stretch. And Tony knows better than any of us here and any of us listening, as he is around the team. Jesse's told us many times, I'm like, man, how morose was that flight? And he's like, not even a little bit. Right. And it's not that they don't care. It's that, man, we got 150 games to go or whatever it was when we asked him. And he's like, you cannot beat yourself up over losing 5-6 in a row. But yeah, this stretch is going to be tough. I think we have the right guys at the helm to manage that ship, certainly. And yeah, you're going to have, again, it's guys stepping up and doing their jobs. Oh, this guy's down, I got to step up. And I think we have a team full of guys that have shown that they're able to do that. We've already weathered some injuries this year. We've already weathered some injuries, and with Crony and Merrill, and we played pretty good baseball in that stretch. So why would anything change? Look, it's the dumbest game alive. I love it so much. This team can rip off a huge winning streak. They could also lose another 6 in a row. I just, like Tony says, I believe in them, and I know they believe in themselves.
Matt, obviously it would help if King or Darvish came back during this stretch, but I don't think they can count on that. But they got to find a way to get through this next month.
Yeah, I think this is a pretty important time for Kyle Hart too, because he could either make it or break it for himself. Yesterday he put the loss on him, and I don't think that's fair that he put the loss on him. But Kyle Hart's going to be huge here. It's the guys that are on the fringe that we've been talking about all year that are going to have to step up, just as Woods said. It's not going to be easy, and the starting rotation is going to have to be pretty good so that they can keep the bullpen fresh. But as you guys said, and as we've said, I believe in what Mike Schill and Ruben Niebla are doing, so I trust that they know how to get through this.
The key thing for you is that you need an MVP performance the next 20 days from Tyler Wade.
Yes, thank you, Chris. I knew I should never have said that. I knew I should never have said that.
Now, one thing that could help the Padres get through this stretch. Now, it's very hard to find a trade partner, especially this early in the season. But if their offense gets going and we're showing signs of clicking, you can overcome a little lack of pitching by putting up a lot of runs on the board. If AJ could somehow add another piece and really get that offense going for the next month, Sammy, it would be a nice at least cushion to help them get through, the inevitable rough day where they're going to have to lean on a tired bullpen or they don't have a starter one day, the better the offense does over this stretch, the easier this stretch is going to be. That's always true.
Yeah, I think if there's a move to be made, I firmly believe AJ Preller will do everything in his ability to do it, and he is the GM you want if you need an early move because he's shown the ability to do it. It's hard to make moves. The Arise trade last year at this time of year, it was very, very rare to have a deal like that, but it doesn't have to be something as significant as that. I'm with you. I think a lot of this now in this 26 out of 27 stretch, you look at the offense and you say, hey, pitching dealing with injuries. We've got a bullpen that's tired. I think a lot of it falls on the offense to sort of carry the load here over the course of the next month or so. I'll also say this, going back to what Tony said just about the vibe of this team the last couple of years. They've done a really good job, and this past couple of weeks was an example of it where they lose 6 in a row. But then they bounce back and they win 4 of 5, and they don't allow 6 in a row to become losing 9 of 10, 10 out of 11. They have always shown an ability to steady the ship just when you think it's about to get really, really rocky. And there are little things about them and how they go about it that always stands out to me. And I'll give you one from yesterday, and I've noticed it before. Really tough loss yesterday, right? If you noticed on your drive home from the game, if you were at the game, if you were listening to the Humboldt Casino Resort Padres postgame show,
get it in.
You noticed when we heard from the players, they're playing music in the clubhouse. This is not a somber clubhouse. It's not a silent clubhouse. There's music going on. You can hear chatter in the background. They always seem to keep it pretty even keel, which I think has been demonstrated on the field as well, which I think gives you a little hope that they can at least stay afloat through this stretch.
I would say a monster stretch by Tatis again wouldn't hurt. At least.
Yeah,
Also.
that would be great.
All right, a couple minutes left. I understand that we had a major milestone in the last few days with one of our panelists, and Chris wanted to make a little special presentation.
Yes, he'll be pleased that I'm doing this on the live show. But over the weekend, our esteemed colleague, Mr. Scraby, had a milestone birthday.
Yes, he did.
Want to wish him a happy birthday, and I brought him a little gift. I'd like him to unfurl it for us. I think all of us who golf on the panel would appreciate getting this gift, but I've given it to Scraby.
Happy birthday, Scraby.
Happy birthday,
Happy
Scraby.
birthday, Scraby.
Hold it up there.
Other way. So
Is it appropriate for
I
consumption?
use this towel to clean my balls. That is actually really good because I do need a new towel.
A new
So
ball cleaning towel.
a ball cleaning towel, yes.
I
Thank you
figure
very
you can
much.
think of us.
It's that wick material too. so
Yeah,
it's good.
yeah. So it
Yeah,
never
wicks
gets
it away.
Yeah, yeah.
How'd you celebrate your 40th?
I honestly just went to the driving range. Did
Nice.
some golf.
Would
balls.
you could remember your 40th? Woods?
Do I remember my
Yeah.
40th? Yeah.
What'd you do?
Hannah threw a surprise party for me.
Oh, nice.
That was awesome. Yeah.
Chris? 40th
Same. I had a
Surprise
surprise party.
party.
Yeah, last week, so I remember it well.
I don't think I can ask Sam or Tony. Can I ask you? Yeah, I can ask you
ask
now.
Tony.
I don't remember what I did though.
Really? Really? That
It
long
was like
ago?
2 years ago.
Was that 2 years ago? 23
No.
we were not
Yeah,
in the playoffs.
yeah.
I was at home. I didn't do much.
I went to golf in Vegas with my brother and my buddy, and
There you
had a
go.
nice little weekend for my 40th birthday.
Just about all of us
Sam,
could
any,
use that towel.
Any
during our
dreams or
40th.
hopes for 40?
That's so far away.
Wow.
Rubbing it in.
I like it.
Rubbing it in.
Well, we'll have another presentation.
You know what? You never know. By then, there could be a little Sammy running around.
Oh, wow.
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 Okay.
We're getting
That far away.
His mother is
Mom is here.
It's either
You
breaking
never know.
news or
You never know.
By the way,
I'm not saying.
By the time we get to the All-Star break, we will have
Why
another
did I say that?
presentation over here for number 50.
50, baby.
Oh,
man.
Half
Yeah.
a C note.
Ugh.
half a seat. No.
You know what's funny? Well, I'll actually do the round table, and then I'll go to the airport to go to England for my 50th birthday.
Going to
that day.
Oasis.
Yeah,
Oh,
on,
wait,
on
when
Thursday.
is that?
Is that what,
July 19th.
is that
So
what
the 16th. No, I leave on a Wednesday. Sorry, I'm going to be missing you
is
guys.
that,
Oh,
what the- is that what the motivation is for you putting up 215 now, 225?
225.
Oh,
No,
it's
50.
no,
You
my
just wanna
motivation
You
is
just want to get yacked?
to get stronger.
We're out of time, everybody. Thank you for joining us. The Roundtable Pizza Roundtable brought to you by San Diego Roundtable Pizza. It really is pizza royalty. I believe the Matt Scraby Show is coming up next year on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
go get